Good afternoon, and welcome to Word Warriors. This is the first ever episode of Win TV's new show produced by Sage Park students and St. Gabriel's School and the Win TV folks in partnership with Green Eco Warriors. And today we're here with the honor and privilege to talk about the book Louis and the Giant. In honor of Hispanic Heritage Month, the students worked together to do voiceovers and bring this story to life. And I am so happy to be here today to introduce this book that I wrote in honor of my own father. In my life, my father was the most interesting person that I have ever known. His style of storytelling is still with me today. Not a day passes that I don't find myself repeating something my father told me. This story is for my father, his family, his children, and his grandchildren, and I hope forever in history. In all time, that it seeps into the hearts of your families and that it helps you to learn more about our history, our shared stories as Americans, as Latinos and Latinas. Thank you for joining us today to read Louis and the Giant with us.
There once was a tiny village in the small town of Camarillo, Puerto Rico. In the village lived a family. There was Chico, Angel, Rosa, Jose, and Luis. Luis was the smallest of them all. The family came to the United States. They learned to speak English. They went to school, but they never forgot their past or their stories. Luis was small, but he had a mighty heart. He had a fiery way of talking and loved to tell stories. The family came to the United States. They learned to speak English. They went to school, but they never forgot their past or their stories. Luis was small, but he had a mighty heart. He had a fiery way of talking and loved to tell stories. The firefighters that worked in the firehouse across the street called Luis Pee-wee. Pee-wee dreamed big dreams. His biggest dream was to change the world and teach others to have no fear. Luis believed he could conquer fear with love. One day, a giant came to town and Luis decided to test his theory about overcoming fear with love. The giant wanted everyone to do what he said. The giant used fear to control everyone, but Luis did not run. The giant approached the home of Luis's family. Then the giant called out loudly,
B-5-4-bum. I smell the blood of a Puerto Rican. Be he skinny or be he fat, I'll use his belly to make my jelly.
The giant yelled again,
B-5-4-bum. I smell the bones of a Puerto Rican. Be he tall or be he short, I'll use his eyes to make my pies.
But Luis was not afraid. The giant yelled again,
B-5-4-bum. I smell the toes of a Puerto Rican. Be he slow, be he fast, I'll make his feet to make my sweets.
But Luis was not afraid. Luis thought for a moment. Then Luis puffed up his chest and stood up tall, and in his loudest voice he said,
Fee-fi-fo-fum. I see the art of a Puerto Rican. Be she good or be she bad, I'll make her happy when she is sad.
This confused the giant. The giant had never had anyone stand up to him. The giant didn't know what to do.
Hey, little guy, what are you, crazy? I've come to capture you and eat you.
But Luis was not afraid. He puffed up his chest, stood his ground, and yelled,
Fee-fi-fo-fum. I see the work of a Puerto Rican. Be he first or be he last, he'll be honored by our past.
But Luis was not afraid. Luis knew he could stomp his feet too. Luis looked the giant in the eyes and said,
Fee-fi-fo-fum. I see the love of a Puerto Rican. Be he here or be he gone, his stories will be passed on and on.
The giant was getting aggravated. He couldn't understand why this little boy would not turn and run. Never mind, the boy was using his own words to upset the giant. Luis could see the giant was thinking.
Hey, Mr. Giant,
Said Luis.
why are you bothering us?
This is what I do. I've always bothered people that are smaller than me.
But why?
Asked Luis again.
I bother people. It's the only thing I know how to do.
The giant began to cry.
Well, Mr. Giant,
Said Luis.
I bet you would be good at a lot of things. You are so big and strong and loud. Why don't you use your super strength and size to do good things? I could help you learn good new things.
I could learn new things?
Asked the giant through his giant tears.
Of course, anyone can learn new things. We'll learn new things together.
Luis did teach the giant to do good things. This made the giant happy.
Come back tomorrow and we will have a nice lunch.
Said Luis to the giant.
Are you sure your family will let you talk to me?
I am sure as the sun is bright and the fire is warm, my family will treat you with respect and love.
The next day, the giant did return. Luis and his brothers and sisters were waiting, and they had made a feast that no giant had ever seen. They had yellow rice with gandules, roasted chicken, and fried plantains. Rosa even made flan for dessert. Luis's family was so happy to meet his new friend the giant. They began to sing and dance. They yelled, "Paranda!" as they played bongos, guitars, maracas, and the gyro. They even taught the giant to dance salsa. That night, after all the fun, when it was time for the giant to go home, the giant said to them all,
Fee, fi, fo, bum. I smell the bones of a Puerto Rican. Be they little or be they big, I will tell all the giants what good friends they've been.
and they lived happily ever after. The end.